I mean, I think the other thing we haven't talked about is the narrative value of these cases, right?
Yeah.
That's not why anyone would bring the case. That's not why these communities are bringing the case. They're not bringing the case so that, members of Congress talk differently about it. But it's just a true fact, if you look at it, that, when the Sackler name came off the art museum, right, that was a big blow for them, right? The reputational damage to the pharmaceutical companies that produce the opioids has, been devastating. And the same with tobacco. Nobody's looking to the tobacco industries for healthcare advice. I mean, it's just their reputation, is in the garbage can, right? And so I think that's an important outcome, a corollary benefit, if you will, of these cases, is that they establish for once and for all that these companies knew and lied about climate change, and they don't give a damn what happens. Obviously, they're increasing production. They obviously don't care if climate change accelerates, and they'll continue to lie about it and lie about their commitments to the solutions until somehow they're forced to change that. But when all that happens, I think it's safe to say that their political capital will be significantly diminished, right? If they're paying trillions of dollars in damages and they're exposed for the liars that they are, it's just a lot harder for them to block action in the Congress, right? That's just the fact of it. Now, that's not why anybody's bringing the cases. That's just something that I think the cases can provide. They give legitimacy through documents that come from the industry themselves, right? Documents from inside the companies where they're saying the things I'm saying. They're predicting catastrophe 40 years ago. They're choreographing the disinformation campaign. So when that becomes sort of common knowledge, I think that just changes the entire zeitgeist about, the power balance moving forward as we try to solve climate change, which again, won't happen through the courts, but, the courts can help.
Before I let you go, I'm wondering if you could give some of those egregious examples you've touched on. The internal scientists at some of companies like ExxonMobil, knowing exactly what the outcome of burning all these fossil fuels is, and yet the public statements being so different from these companies. If you don't mind fleshing out exactly what that looked like and what some of the publicly available knowledge is on that front.
Well, I mean, one thing is the Exxon team back in the 70s and early 80s was probably the best climate science team in the world. They accurately predicted exactly the temperature rise that we see today, like 1.1 C. That's exactly what they predicted. They exactly predicted the level of CO2 in the atmosphere. And I mean, like to the part per million level, right? They were the best. And then they looked at that and said, this is going to produce, quote, this is their words, catastrophic outcomes, right? For a significant fraction of the world population. And they mentioned catastrophic outcomes in relation to agriculture, in relation to all sorts of impacts and sectors of the economy. So that's Exxon predicting catastrophe multiple times and then orchestrating the denial campaign. Shell, I think they have one of my favorite statements, which is after looking at various different scenarios of emissions, and particularly the one that we've been on since they did this in the 1980s, which is just business as usual, they predicted that civilization itself could prove a fragile thing. So that's pretty amazing to me. They're predicting that civilization itself might collapse, but then they're like, what the hell? Let's just get into this denial campaign and we'll just lie about it for the next 40 years. It's just outrageous.
The amount of cognitive dissonance that you have to possess about you raking in a bunch of cash and what you're going to create for your kids. I mean, I guess they probably think that, like all of these very wealthy people think that they can build their own compound and that they'll be insulated from the effects that they've created on the planet. But I really can't think of anything more morally repugnant, to be honest.
100% agree with you. And the thing is, the CEOs and the people making the decisions, they know. They know what they're doing. They know that their products are causing this problem, and they just don't care. They don't care how many people die. They don't care how much it costs. They obviously don't care about anything, because if they did, they'd be doing very different things than what they're doing now.
Well, really appreciate your time today, Richard. How can people support efforts to bring litigation or pressure the Biden administration to take this action?
That's a great question. I don't have a great answer for that. I wish I did. The decisions to file lawsuits across the country, that's one thing that you can support locally. Let's just say that if you're in a red state, your attorney general is not going to bring this case. But if you're in a blue state, that's possible. You just got to support the politicians at the local and state level that are bringing these cases. And, I don't know that there's any way for the citizens to apply pressure to DOJ. I don't think that's a thing that the DOJ really responds well to. And, it's not something that is typically done. People got to just keep the heat on the administration and Biden to let's not have any more willows, and let's take a step forward here and do some real stuff.
Richard Weil is president of the Center for Climate Integrity. Thanks so much for your time today.
Oh, thanks a lot. I appreciate it.